Hi, welcome to Microeconomics for International Management. Today we are going to talk about perfect competition market. We start with the characteristics of perfect competition market, and this is one thing here. Whenever you hear the word perfect in economic context, you should always be pretty careful. We all do realize that there are no perfect things in this world. So whenever we say about something perfect in economics, we mean some kind of theoretical, a bit idealistic concept that does not really exist in practice. Hence the possible question, why should we actually consider any market like perfect competition market if such a market does not exist in the reality? The good explanation, the good answer to this question is the pi number. You know, the number pi is used whenever you deal with spheres or circles. You want to, for instance, calculate the volume of a sphere or the area of a circle. Then you use pi, and every student, when asked how much pi is, says, well, it's about 3.14, right? Obviously, that's not precisely pi, right? Pi is many numbers, actually, but we stick to this 3.14 for pi, because we say, well, that is close enough. That's not precisely pi, but when you want to calculate some everyday things connected with circles, spheres, that is close enough. The same we could say about perfect competition market. We do not have precisely such markets in the reality, but there are many important markets that are pretty close to perfect competition. Obviously, someone would say even such kind of traditional businesses like selling vegetables and fruits in the local market, having a stall in the market, would be pretty similar to perfect competition, or giving private lessons of English or mathematics would be pretty close to perfect competition. But actually, there are much more powerful markets, much more important for contemporary economies, and they are, again, close to perfect competition market. What market are those? Well, that could be, for instance, money market, forex market, stock market. These are typical examples where we see that they are very similar to this theoretical notion of perfect competition. So if you look at typical features of perfect competition, we will go through those bullet points here, and you will notice that this characteristics that is given by those bullet points is actually very similar to those markets that I mentioned, like stock market, money market. Number of sellers and number of buyers, and you can see both is many, right? One additional remark, all the market structures we are going to talk about will be characterized by this number of buyers, many, because we are primarily interested in the markets where buyers are individuals, people like us. And we are going to show that different market structures will have different influence on us, buyers, normal people, ordinary people, households. Obviously, there are also some specific market structures where the number of buyers is limited, but we are not going to focus on those. So let's focus on the number of sellers, right? Because this is what makes perfect competition pretty distinct from other market forms that we are going to discuss. Many sellers. How much is actually many? For a mathematical model, it would be best if we assume this is infinite number. But practically, we would say many, in both cases actually, in case of sellers and buyers as well. Many means that the number of sellers, buyers, is so big that if there is one more to the market or one less in the market, we don't see any difference, right? So many is when the number is so big that you cannot actually see the difference if this number is one more or one less than it was. This is the idea of many. Why do we have so many sellers in perfect competition market? This is because of entry and exit barriers, or to be more precise, as you can see, this is due to the lack of such barriers. So, in other words, it's very easy to become a seller, so to enter this market, and it is equally easy to exit this market, to stop being a seller. So this ease of entering and exiting market makes it possible for sellers to be many of them. The next point is market transparency. And for all our market structures, we are going to assume full market transparency, perfect market transparency, which means that all buyers and all sellers have full, totally unlimited access to information. This is simplification, obviously, and probably this is the major assumption that makes this perfect competition a purely theoretical notion. Because it's never like that everyone has the same access to information. When you consider access to information, you focus on actually two dimensions. The first one being the scope of information. So what people know, right? To what kind of information they have access. So it is usual that not all the people have the access to the same information. But even more important, even more difficult in practice, assumption is that all the people have the access to information at the same time. And this is crucial. It's impossible actually to make this access to information available to all interested people at the same time. There will always be people who know earlier, and there will always be people who know later. Why do we use this market transparency assumption? As I mentioned, to simplify things, having this assumption, we are not going to consider the following situations. Like one producer has a better technology because he knows something that others don't know. That would complicate things, right? Different technologies used by different players. This is closer to the reality because in reality we see this, right? Different producers may have different technologies because of differences in the knowledge, information, competences, access to resources, okay? But we assume everyone has the same technology, everyone knows the same. There is also a simplification when we look at buyers. It is sometimes possible in real life that you buy something and you pay more than others because you simply didn't know something. Like, for instance, you didn't know where you could buy this cheaper. So there are 5 shops, for instance. You bought in the first shop. Actually, the third shop offered the lowest prices, but you simply didn't know that. Okay, so we are going to eliminate such cases. We want to simplify our model here. So we assume everyone knows everything. So if the shop number 3 offers the lowest prices, then people would naturally go there rather than on any other shop. Okay, and there are 3 issues more. This is homogeneous product that we have in perfect competition market. This is price control, actually no price control in perfect competition market, and horizontal demand for product. Those 3 things are pretty distinctive for perfect competition market. Hence, we want to have a closer look at them. All the products that we have can be divided into 2 groups. We can speak of homogeneous and heterogeneous products. What's the difference between them? In case of heterogeneous products, we say normal, average customer is able to link this product with the producer. Good examples of heterogeneous products are, for instance, cars. So you don't have to be an automotive industry expert to see the difference between Honda and Ford and Toyota. We all know those brands. So heterogeneous products are products that can be easily linked with producer. In the heterogeneous product domain, we've got brands. So you say, well, my mobile is iPhone, my mobile is Samsung, my mobile is Xiaomi, right? We use brands. For homogeneous products, and these are the products that are traded in perfect competition market. For homogeneous products, people are usually unable to link them with producers. So think of some popular fruits like apples. I bet you had at least 1 apple over last week. And the question is, all right, and who was the producer? And you don't know that, right? So we've got homogeneous products such as apples, rice, wheat. It could be coal, for instance. These are products that cannot be easily linked with their producer. What kind of consequences does it have? If your product is homogeneous, then you actually cannot use advertising in an efficient way. If you look at any commercial, the major message behind the commercial is, look, this is our product, and it is so much different from other similar products. It's more innovative, it's cheaper, it's faster, more classy, more fashionable. You choose. Okay? But all the commercials are based on the assumption that if we show you this, our product, then when you go to the shop, you will be clearly able to distinguish our product from others. That doesn't happen for apples, right? If you have a farmer growing apples, actually his apples look like any other apples. Therefore, if you are a farmer, you have many apple trees, you do not advertise apples, because then you would advertise apples of all the farmers. You see that clearly. There are many commercials on cars, mobiles, detergents, medications, but there are no actually commercials on wheat, rice, potato, coal, right? You don't get them. You do not get them. Some of you may say, yeah, but when it comes to bananas, I can remember Chiquita bananas, and they were actually advertised. That's true. Some of you may say, you speak of apples, and Pink Lady is a brand of apples that was advertised, and it is actually advertised. Yes, it is. These are kind of exceptions. These are some attempts to differentiate homogeneous product. Actually, with this product differentiation, we have a lot of examples. Look at the butter, for instance. What is butter? There is a clear definition of what butter is. Butter is a product that consists of 82% of milk fat, and this is what makes butter. But if you look at the shelves in your grocery shop, you will see different kinds of butter, different brands with different packages and in different shapes possibly, right? And this is all to introduce product differentiation, to make this homogeneous product, which butter actually is, make it heterogeneous, because you look at particular butter and you say, all right, so that is Lurpak, which is Finnish or Danish, I'm not sure, Danish probably, okay? So I know this brand, and this is Wachate, and this is butter of Varlubia, and any other brand, actually. And if you look at those different types of butter, you will see they are actually sold at different prices. Even though I would bet that in the blind test, if I take a few slices of bread, I spread it with different types of butter, you would not be able, most likely, most of you would not be able to tell the difference between this Lurpak and Bachata, for instance, right? But this is product differentiation, and it's got quite much to do with price discrimination that we are going to discuss later. Because you can keep selling your butter, advertising that, for instance, it's made of milk delivered by happy cows, right? And if you are good to animals, and if you would like cows to be happy, then you may spend actually slightly more money on a piece of butter that is made from this kind of milk. So you can promote happiness of cows if you feel like, right? So remember, homogeneous product is not very good for producers, in the sense that the only competition here is price competition. If people cannot see any difference between your product and your competitor's product, the only way that you can make it different is try to sell it cheaper, okay? Because otherwise, well, they don't see any difference, right? And this is why producers want to differentiate their products, and they actually take some efforts to do that. Exogenous price. This very clever name means simply that if you have a business and if you operate on perfect competition market, then the selling price is not something that comes from your business. It comes from outside of the business, right? That's exogenous means, right? Coming from outside. That simply means that in perfect competition market, a single business is always a price taker. So you only take the price from the market, and this is your selling price. You don't have any control over the price. That seems to many people very illogical or even impossible. They say, come on, if I have a business, how is that possible that I don't have control over my own price? This is me who decides upon the price. I sell at the price that I want. Not entirely. Imagine yourself trying to sell some euros in the exchange office. And the exchange office offers you some exchange rate. You are the seller. And you could say, well, if I sell euros, that's my decision about the price. It's not. Because either you accept the price that is proposed by the exchange office, or you are unable to make a transaction. You cannot negotiate that, okay? You cannot say, my euros are special. No, they are not special. Euros are a great example of homogeneous good, homogeneous product. Every 50 euro banknote is the same. There are no special banknotes of that kind. So either you take the price from the exchange office, or you cannot make a transaction. This is the situation of you being a price taker. Why is it so? Because there are many sellers, and you are just one of those many sellers. So you represent a very, very tiny part of the market. The question whether you sell your 50 euros or if you don't sell this 50 euros today has no noticeable influence on the market situation, on the money market situation, let's say in Poland today, right? Because today, the volume traded will be probably tens or even hundreds of millions of euros. So your 50 euro does not count really, okay? So it doesn't change anything in the sense of the whole market. And obviously, it is always possible that you take a bottle of water, you go to the seaside, you pour your bottle of water into the sea. Did you make more water in the sea? Well, technically, you have. But practically, no one notices. And if you come to the seaside with an empty bottle, you take some seawater into this bottle and you walk away. Did you decrease the amount of water in the sea? Technically, yes, but practically, no one can notice, all right? So this glass of water or this bottle of water comparing to the whole sea is like your 50 euros comparing to the whole money market this day, okay? Does not really influence the market. Hence we say, you are a price taker. You've got no control over the price. You can accept it or you can reject it. That's all you can do. Where does this exogenous price come from? It comes from the market. Look at those two graphs here. The graph on the left shows you the situation on money market. So this is market of euro against, let's say, Polish zloty. There is some demand for euros. And like for any demand, if the price, the exchange rate is low, people would like to buy many euros if they are cheap, right? Those who have euros would be more willing to sell when the price is high. So this is demand supply, and we've got equilibrium here. So this is the exchange rate that is present in, let's say, all exchange offices, right? This equilibrium price here is this exchange rate. And there is a certain turnover in the market. You've got it here in QE. And look at the horizontal axis of this left graph. the unit is Q, this big block capital letter Q. Because this is market for euros, and this Q, these are millions of euros. Millions of euros. And now let's focus on the graph on the right side. This is your individual situation. You are an individual seller of euros, and demand for your euros is horizontal, which means you can sell any number of euros at this PE exchange rate. So if euro against Polish zloty is, let's say, 4.2, you can sell 1 euro, or you can sell 10 times more, which is 10 euros, and still the price is the same. And you can sell 100 euros and 1,000 euros, and even for 10,000 euros, you will not change the exchange rate in money market. Okay, so this is why we see this demand for individual production as horizontal, right? You can be selling and selling and selling. You are so small that you do not change the overall market situation. So this is basically the characteristics of perfect competition market.